But I'm wondering whether something like justice is irrecoverable, whether that's like the content that used to be transmitted but which no longer exists, whether justice becomes a lost or scattered concept, or whether you hold out for it.
There's this beautiful thing again that Benjamin writes in the essay on Kafka, referring to the fact that the Jewish studied the law, only studied the law. He said, a law which is no more applied but only studied is the door of justice.
Is the door of justice.
So, but if the implication is that justice just has to do with a kind of neutralization of the law. If the law is made inoperative, so no more applied, then you have justice, which is a strange thing. So there's, but I think that there is something. I don't think that justice can never coincide with applied law, but perhaps with the inoperativity and abeyance of law, perhaps yes.
Yes, see. Please, Tim.
Following on this statement that you just made about the exceptional situation of Eichmann, and this is addressed to both of you, do you support the death penalty for Eichmann in Eichmann's case, or in any case? And are there exceptions? And if not, then what would you have had them do with him, or what would you have done with him?
I feel like we're on German television in 1964.
What did you say?
I said I feel like we're on German television in 1964. Because we saw this interview with Arendt. Should I respond in German, or should I? Yeah.
I do not support any form of punishment, so I have no opinion. I'm not against the punishment exists, or the process are there, but I do not support any form of punishment. I can't.
Any form of punishment, or any form of capital punishment, the death penalty?
No, any form of punishment.
Any form of punishment.
The penalty. If it depended on me, I should invent something more interesting than punishment. But this, I'm not saying from this that the people must not be punished. That it's not a position against process to criminals. But if I have to say really what I think, I cannot support any form of punishment. Prison. How can I be for prison? How can I be for death penalty? It's possible.
So you're saying you're not in support of any form of punishment that we've come up with until this point?
Pardon?
It sounds like you're saying you're in favor of the principle of punishment, but not in any form of punishment that human beings have come up with until this point.
No, it's in favor of a system where punishment should not happen. But so you cannot ask me to support punishment. But I'm not denying that in the society we are living, perhaps you have to punish people. But this I can't support. You can ask me to say prison is good, death penalty is good, torture is good, or whatever. No?
Okay. I don't support capital punishment. I don't. And I probably would not have supported it for Eichmann either, even though I understand in some ways what the passion for that was. But I think that when one is in the grip of that passion, the passion to see a heinous criminal die, that's a passion that has to be negotiated. It has to be worked through to some other kind of conclusion.
Right. Especially since he asked for it.
Yes, well, even, I would say no matter what he said,
right.
No matter whether he asked for it or protested against it, I think that maybe one has to work with those passions to see destruction, to have destruction done in that way. I think one has to limit one's passion. One has to sober up. I think there can be an intoxication with killing. And my worry is that so many people find moral justifications for the intoxicated destructiveness that they wish to pursue. So, and that's, I think, a profoundly Nietzschean problem with law, and one I think always has to ask whether there's a kind of festival of cruelty going on in the making and implementing of law, even as law understands itself as somehow transcending that domain of cruelty or that domain of barbarism. So we have to ask about the barbarism of the highly moralized law. And I think that has to be countered in all kinds of ways.
I think that any person trying to morally justify punishment, not only death penalty, but any penalty, you can accept that they exist. But if you try to morally justify them, this is a crime.
This is a crime, but a crime according to which law? Open question. The law that we're studying. Yeah. Okay. You want to call him, Jake? And we'll take you back there afterwards.
You both just spoke about naming as an accusation, but earlier we were talking with you about naming as being something people desire and something that is important for someone to be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm just wondering if that it's not so simple to see naming as simply an accusation. There's a certain desire to be named.
Well, I think in Kafka it works that way because he's talking about a certain kind of nameless transmission of guilt. But maybe one way of answering your question is to say that even when we want to be called a name, or even when we name ourselves in some way, or we offer a name to another, much more is working through that name than we know. In other words, there's more history burdened in the name or encrypted in the name than we ourselves can know. So naming perhaps has to be understood as an act of transmission, and it gets subject to the same liabilities that any process of transmission does.
Yeah, and then perhaps happiness is beyond name.
Happiness is beyond name?
Real, complete happiness. If you had imagined a complete happiness, I think it would be beyond the name.
So,
the name. This is also a Benjamin idea. Now, Benjamin says the nature is sad because it has been overnamed, named and overnamed. Because any name is also an overdenomination. So I think that I agree with you that there is something of an accusation in the name. Even then there is a lot of history which is transmitted in the name, of course. But, I mean, a completely happy place. I'm always fascinated. There is an Arab Platonic philosopher, Al-Farabi, who worked on politics. He wrote a book called The Happy City. He said, what is an happy city? Of course, an happy city is a happy city where there are no doctors, no lawyers, of course, and perhaps also no names.
No names.